Today we're going to think about cardboard. Most of us have a lot of cardboard hanging around our house right now because we're ordering from Amazon or from other places and everything's coming in boxes to our door. But not just Amazon boxes are going to work today. But anything that you have around the house, there are a lot of other things that come into our house that are in cardboard. It doesn't need to be really thick cardboard, but something that's really sturdy. Here's a pancake batter box that I happen to have laying around that I thought was pretty nice. And I liked the black on it too, which I think is going to be, I don't know, so I might use that somewhere. And also, cardboard comes in sheets like this, and you can see I've already kind of used this a little bit, but sometimes when things need to lay flat or they're at the bottom of the boxes, we'll get these nice sheets. And I actually save these all the time for things that I do around the house or my art projects too. So gather your cardboard and put this on pause and come back. And then we will talk about a few things. So pause this, look around, do a little scavenger hunt around your house and see what kind of cardboard that you can come up with for us to use today in our cardboard projects. I'll wait here. All right, you've got all your cardboard. That means you're back and you're ready to do something with it. Cardboard, I made animals today, and we're going to be thinking about animals because I'm going to teach you how to do animals not only flat like this, but also in 3D. I've got my little elephant here that's in 3 dimensions, and my shark, this is supposed to be a shark, is also using cardboard, but he's flat, and he's more two-dimensional because he's flat and glued down to the paper, but he's got some texture on him, and so he's not a single dimension. What inspired me to do this project was a couple things. One is because I'm looking for things around the house for us to do our projects with, but also Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso was one of those artists where he, I call him the great experimenter because he pretty much did everything there was to do. He was always looking for a new kind of way of doing things, and he always wanted to be different because he thought he was, for lack of a better term, better than everybody else, all the other artists out there. Or he wanted everybody to think that he was better than everyone else, so he was challenging other artists to find ways of doing different things. And we know him as the father of Cubism. For those of you that take classes with me, we have talked a lot about him as a cubist. But he also did lots of sculptures. He did reclaimed things. He would find stuff on the ground and he'd pick it up and use it. And cardboard was one of those things that he did use. He, in 1912, so this is way long ago and early on in his art career, he did a sculpture, 2 sculptures of guitars. And he made them out of cardboard, and everybody went, "Cardboard? What is he thinking? That's just nuts." But they're kind of interesting, and nobody thought to do that, of course. Now, I don't know off the top of my head whether or not he was struggling for money or what have you. I suspect he probably was, because I know he had a hard time kind of breaking in the beginning. He was very famous towards the end, but he was had some difficulty early on in his art career having people buy his artwork and take him seriously, and he didn't have any family money or anything like that. So he probably picked this up and thought, well, what can I do with this? I'm feeling creative. And a lot of artists have done that in the past. Famously, Vincent van Gogh, or Vincent van Gogh, as he pronounced it in Dutch. He had no money. He didn't only sold a couple of paintings, or one painting actually, in his lifetime. And so he had very little money. And he used to paint on cardboard, and he used to steal linen napkins from the restaurants and paint on those or do his artwork on those. Alexander Calder is another example. He is the famous sculptor, and his first famous art piece were things, or pieces were things that were made out of wire and glass and paper and corks and things like that he had picked up off the ground. So artists make do with what they have. A lot of folk artists, and a folk artist is someone who is untrained, they haven't gone to school, they're just doing it because they're creatively inclined. They pick up things off the ground and paint with whatever, make their art out of whatever they have. Sometimes they use house paint, sometimes they use just plywood or boards that they found on the ground, and so on. So that's another reason why we're thinking about cardboard today. I think it's a good inspiration. Plus, it's something that's kind of firm and stiff rather than just paper. So we're able to make something that can stand up on its own. My little giraffe here can stand up on its own. So that's our inspiration today. Now, first off, I want you to start with something that's just flat, like my shark here. And when you're tearing your cardboard or cutting your cardboard, you can cut it with scissors if you want to cut it with scissors. I'm just gonna tear my box apart here. And you can see it takes a little bit of strength, but it's not too bad. And after you tear it, you're going to notice that you've got these rough edges. So these rough edges are actually kind of cool to use. I like to tear. My elephant is cut because we probably need a little more precision on that. But especially when you're doing something like this, and we've talked about collage and paper already, and this is collaged with my cardboard. But do you see the texture here? That's another thing that cardboard is really great with, is giving us some texture. If you peel back our paper here off that first layer here, sometimes it's easier than other things. Look at all these lines and this texture here. All of that can be used in our art. So I'm not going to tear this. I want to keep it. I want to keep that. So I'm going to cut it. This is something that it could be used with an animal with stripes. Or, like with my shark, just for regular texture and lumps and bumps and all of that. So don't be afraid to use this. I'm going to do another project. The next one is also going to be using cardboard, so save all this cardboard. We're going to make some collagraphs out of cardboard, which is kind of cool. So don't throw it away. First, you need a plan, though. Okay, we've got our cardboard. We've got some pieces cut up, pulled apart. We need a plan. You need to think about, oh, and look, actually, this piece of cardboard is got, and they all are a little different. This one is a little lighter weight when I pull it apart. This is that pancake batter box. When I pull it in half and split it, oh, this is so awesome. What am I going to do with that? Well, I'm talking to you. I'm going to think about what I can do with that, because right now it kind of looks like a mountain, but I don't know. There's got to be something I can do with this. So there we go. Where was I? First off, you have to have a plan. So with your plan, you need to think about an animal body first, and you always do your body first because that helps you decide the size and the shape and where everything else goes afterwards. My shark, you can see I started with my oval here, okay? And then I had some pieces, I just had a couple of leftover like this, a leftover corner here. And that's what I put in as the fin. And I did kind of the same thing down here with my tail fin. And I've got another fin here. Now he needs some teeth. So if I actually could take and cut teeth. Oh, and they're so little, teeny tiny. But it would be cool, and I should do that. Look at that. So I'm going to add some teeth. I'm just going to add one right now. But everything else is glued down, and now I'm going to glue down those teeth. And I'm going to keep cutting teeth and adding them here. You'll also notice that I took my markers and I gave him some shark-like colors, and his eye here. I gave him red lips because yes, fish do have lips. Check it out. Which reminds me, you can see what all of these things look like because of course you're at home. You have your computers, your iPads, whatever you're using to look up what your animals need to look like, and that's part of your planning, right? Once you have your pieces, glue them all down and you've got your whatever your animal is. Don't forget the details though. So details, what are those? For an animal, a detail would be, to make a giraffe look like a giraffe, you need to have a really long neck because giraffes have long necks. Do they have short legs or do they have long legs? They have long legs. Do they have a tail? Do they have horns? Some of them do have horns. Or they have those little kind of nubby things on the top of their head. What color are they? Do they have, even if you don't have markers or paint or oil pastels or crayons at home, you can do those details in pencil because we'll still know it's just black and white. So giraffes, they have spots, don't they? They don't have stripes, they have spots, and they're kind of geometric spots. So look at a picture and make sure that you've got those spots looking the way they need to look. A zebra. Is a zebra without stripes? I don't think so. And a zebra stripe is a certain kind of stripe. It's a different stripe than a tiger stripe, right? So make sure you do all of those details. Once you've got your flat collage done, move on to your three-dimensional guy. And here's my elephant, and he's a little wonky for a couple of reasons. One is he's really heavy in the front, so he has his trunk is catching him. Now I like what I did with him. I started out, as you can see here, with this body, and using my pencil, I drew an oval first. Can you see my oval here? On the other side, and then I added the detail of his tail, and I added his head here and his trunk. Now he doesn't look like an elephant right now because of course he doesn't have legs, but also he didn't have ears, and so I needed to do my ears. My ears will be flat, and I did two of them on because they're going to go into the center of his head like this, you can see. And so both ears are one piece. The legs are something else here. My legs, and all of your animal legs I want you to make like this. They start out as a square, okay? Then you want to take and you want to remove those corners here so they're rounded and they look like, you know, our legs we have hips and everything runs across. Then you're going to make it look like a bridge like this, okay, and you'll then cut it out. Okay, now here's a smaller one because of course your animals, some of them have really thick legs like an elephant and maybe not quite so tall as a giraffe. A giraffe has skinny long legs, so you would make, this maybe would be for a smaller giraffe because my legs are skinny. And these are thick for my elephant. So back to our legs. We've got the corners are off. We've taken off or drawn the other second bridge in here. And I'm going to cut these out. Okay. I don't think we can tear these very well. They're going to have to be cut. Now I can't use these two together, can I? because they're not the same size. What's going to end up happening if I add them to my elephant here is he'll look pretty funny because he won't be able to stand up because my legs aren't the same size. Your legs have to be the same size. So your next step would be to make sure that you have another piece of cardboard that you can cut your legs out that are the same size. Okay, so I've got my cardboard. I'm gonna do that, and then I can cut it out. Got my 4 pieces of my simple giraffe, and I can now take and put him together. And to do that, I need to cut place for in the body for my legs to go. Just one simple slit or cut into the body, and then you can insert your legs into the inside that body there so it stands up. I'm going to insert my second one, and there we go. He's a little wonky. I think if I did him a little differently, I would maybe make another, actually I would bring the back here a little further back. So I'm just going to do that. Let's see what happens, just because I'm curious. Oh yeah, that's much better, isn't it? Okay, so he can now stand up. And I also have a slit, you'll notice, up at the top of his head where his ears go. And I'm going to put his ears like that. Oh, look how cute he is. Now, I didn't erase my pencil lines, but you can erase your pencil lines if you want. Or now I'm going to give him, I'm going to take his ears off because it'll be easier, some gray marker. And of course I have to do it on both sides because he's in 3-dimension. Same with my legs. I've given him a little bit of color on there. And I also added, you know how they have their nails on their hooves? I'm going to add some nails on his hooves. Same thing with his body. And you can imagine that if I had cut my cardboard differently, those stripes would have been going in an opposite direction. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, that may be even better because their wrinkles their wrinkles go around their body, don't they? That's one of those details. So I did it right. They're more of an up and down. And you could actually go back, and I think I'm going to do that, and add some detail lines in there too. And I've got his eye already done up. There's his trunk and his tail. And I didn't erase my pencil lines. That's okay. Also, you remember that trick I showed you with marker. This might be a good time to get your water, and I'm going to make him, I'm going to turn that into paint just with some water. Remember how we did that? Why not? You can do that on cardboard too. So just adding my water to him. And he's going to have a really nice gray body. And if you have paint, you can use the paint that you have. I need to let that dry a little bit. I'm going to go back to his ears. Oh. And so forth. Okay. He's pretty cute. I like him. He is wet. I'm going to have marker on my fingers, but that's okay. You'll probably want to let him dry. And oh, he's great. So what other kind of animals can you do? I've given you some suggestions. Come on, stand up. I've given you some suggestions. Come on. Come on. There. Good job. I've given you some suggestions. Zebras, giraffes, my shark. I don't think a shark or a fish lends itself very well to the 3D part of it, but it certainly does for the flat part of it, and it's kind of simple for you to start with, the fish is. Something else that would be easy to do is maybe a cat. How about a dog? Start out with just the body. Always start with the body because that kind of dictates what the rest of it looks like, and then go from there. If you want to do just the head of a cat or just the head of a dog, that's great too, and you can figure out how to make that work. Now if you want to have things come off the paper in your 3 dimensions and you're doing something, remember my shark here, and maybe you want to take the Rayleigh's bags, or the, excuse me, not all of us sharp at Rayleigh's, mine happen to be Rayleigh's, but the brown bags, if you have brown bags, and you can turn that into like just, I don't know, maybe rip some strips off. If you have your leftover paper, it's kind of this pretty much the same thing. You can use your leftover paper and just rip some strips here, and you could glue that onto the top. See how it curls? Glue that onto the top and it's going to look like fur, right? That's a great idea as well. The other thing you can do is add a little bit of some other extra things to it. We've already talked about tape. If you want to add tape, masking tape is would be a cool addition to this, and even washi tape if you want to use washi tape, or string. You could use some string. Pablo Picasso, when he did his guitars, they had string in them, of course, for the strings of the guitar, and he used some glue, and I think there was some tape in there as well. Speaking of the guitars, I am going to post down in the description a link to the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, where these guitars, the guitar sculptures are living. And they have a video on how he did it, and they're going to show you how he did it. If you can make a guitar yourself, that would be fantastic, and I would love to see it. It actually is fairly simplistic, and I challenge you to make your own guitar sculpture like Pablo Picasso did. So go to the link and look at the YouTube video. The curator there is explaining how they made a pattern and then how they cut it out and all of that. And it's not very long. It's only like, I don't know, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes at the most. And it's really kind of interesting. Some of you went, curator. What's a curator? The curator is the guy who's in charge, or the woman, or the person who's in charge of the exhibit, or the type of art that is at that museum, and they are in charge of educating and figuring out the history of and telling us all about it. So the curator at the Museum of Modern Art is now posting that video, and it would be fun to watch. So I would look forward to hearing what you think of this and what your comments are, and also seeing pictures of your work. I haven't seen a lot of pictures of your work, and I would love to see some pictures of your work and see what you're doing with all of this, because I know we've got a lot of people that are viewing it, so it would be great for me to be able to see what you're doing, because I always like to see your work. So until next time, save your cardboard, because the next time we meet we're going to be doing something with it. And I look forward to that time. So take care.